So in this session, we want to discuss about online journalism. Again, it's going to be the same format. We're going to look at what online journalism is about, brief definition, and then move on to the features and characteristics, and then a little bit of insight into how reporting is done or how news is produced when we look at online media. Online journalism could be defined as original writing or reporting that are delivered via World Wide Web. So www, what you type whenever you go into any kind of online engagement is the World Wide Web. And so World Wide Web, and consider World Wide Web to be a space in which this sort of journalistic deliverables happen. So when you look at newspaper, you say that okay, there is print media content. You look at radio and television, you say broadcast media. Similarly, when we talk about online journalism, this is what happens here. Journalistic engagement, writing, reporting, editing, designing, all those things that land up in that space is called online journalism. So today we are witnessing that all type of work is getting slowly transferred into online mode. The very fact that you and me, we could engage for that long period of time happened because of the scope of an opportunity because of online media. So, and the media industry is not far behind when online came into the scene or picture, and then how online news delivery could happen or how online news business could happen started being a matter of debate or discussion, and that's how new opportunities were created. And lastly, when you look at this point in time, there was a time when newspaper was competing with radio and television in order to continue to retain its credibility in the market, and then entered the online media, which is super fast as compared to television, as compared to radio. So what happens here is the delivery of news or the business of news production took a very different kind of a nature altogether. Competition become extremely important at that point in time. So if you are a journalist and you are not competitive enough and ambitious enough to deliver content at a much faster pace, then you might lose out on that. And it became a race. At one point in time, the whole idea was to create content and then pass it on to people so that people stay informed. Later on, the whole competition was targeted towards who is delivering faster news content. And two interventions became crucial here. One was 24 hours news programming, when it shifted from 30 minutes news bulletin a day to 24 hours news programming. And then everybody would come up and continue to, say that we are delivering the best news to you at the most fastest pace. The concept of breaking news was introduced, right? That each of the news channels are competing against each other to deliver you what is called as the breaking news, which means they are the ones who are offering you novelty in terms of any information that is out there in the market. And new media took it to the next level. It made it presence felt in a way that no other media has so far done. And the very fact that it's also a conglomeration of different medium coming together. So you have the text format, you have text, a lot of text which flow, then you have graffiti, you have images, you have videos, all of them embedded together in one platform. That's how you don't have to go anywhere else. If you go to a news website, if you want to read a pure news report, which has got no other things but factual information, you can do so. Then you can navigate back to a news video footage. Those kind of things, started proliferating in the market and then creating a separate base for online journalism. Website belonging to the media houses or blogs created by professional journalists for providing authentic information to their readers can be categorized as online journalism. So, when we look at the broad categorization, few things that come up is One is professional generated content. Okay. And then other thing is user generated content. Okay. You are the ones who belong to the part of user generated content. Like you go on to Twitter, you start tweeting, you start posting on Instagram, you start writing blogs, you write your opinion pieces on social media. All those things are user generated content. And all of them are contributing to the metadata of journalism. I mean, as journalism student, tomorrow, if you are going to report about a particular event or an incident and somebody else also is doing, so it's not like that person has better credibility than you if you have done your story well, if you have reported, if you have packed it with facts, if you have done good interviews, and it comes as a good research story, then people are interested in the content that you produce. They are not interested in looking at who X is, Y is. Okay, X and Y with 20 years of journalism experience might have a better credibility than you, but then that credibility is again at the face value. If I go to a story, if I have written something, you have written something, and your content is better than mine, and you continue to do so, then the audiences or the readers are going to gravitate towards you than towards me. That part is clear. The competition becomes extremely important in this information cycle. Understand that. Online medium provides journalists with a vast range of options to gather information in an interesting and entertaining way. That the scope and opportunity is quite a lot, because the fact that you are not competing against the traditional media. The traditional media is competing. So if tomorrow you are becoming a new media journalist, then the biggest advantage that you have is you are in the immediate medium. You're working in the immediate medium, and you don't have space and time constraint as traditional media would have. The internet provides opportunity for instant publishing, archiving, linking, use of audio and video with greater interactivity, and also provides what is extremely crucial, which is instantaneous feedback. What does that mean, instantaneous feedback? Suppose I'm a journalist, I write a story, and you happen to read that story. There's always a comment box, you can go and comment. Or if I have provided my email ID, you can constantly write and then instantly write and send in your opinion or feedback about that particular story. So it works in a cycle of both consumption and feedback. So you don't stay mere passive consumer of that media content, which is what might happen with newspapers or with television or with radio. Like you can go back and then you can react or respond to a particular story. But the point remains, it's not as immediate as the web media, where you can go and then immediately enter your opinion. You follow a certain journalist whose tweet is something that resonated with you, you can immediately retweet within seconds, right? So when you are retweeting, there are two ways. One is you are in opposition to the point of view, or you complement the point. In either case, what is crucial here to understand is the feedback cycle. You can instantly publish. What does that mean? If your blog is ready, you can go to your blog. All you need to do is upload the content, enter, and it's out there. And remember, whatever you are doing, all these things are remaining as an archive on the web it says. So also be a little careful in terms of the kind of content that you're uploading. When blogs came up first, I'm talking about 2004, 5, 2004, I think, and we are all excited that okay, this is what something that is new, and let's try and all that. And with all excitement, I created my first blog. And now when I look back after 20 odd years, I find it so embarrassing. Not the content, just my bio. Content is okay. So like, okay, this is how silly you were at that point in time. And you thought that, okay, I'll erase it someday. I have forgotten the ID password, and somebody who Googles my name, there is a link that is there. People click and say that this man is more funny than he seems. So, and you can't do that. Now I can go back and unless I can retrieve the password, not doesn't happen. And the point is that you can leave some sort of an impression. And the best part is people and the most remotest part of the world can still have access to your content. They can still know you in person, what your point of view is, what you think about particular topics, and start a conversation or discussion. All these features give online journalism an upper hand over other media. Like I told you, that it's not something that is there in other in newspaper, radio, or television. These key features of online news medium has a great impact on conventional media, and which is also getting complemented by the new media content that is being provided. Now the print media journalists are they've realized that they're up against something which is extremely challenging. So unless they try to improve their game, they might have to fold up eventually. They might not be continue. And conventional media in this rooted way of trying to offer content that has also gone through a lot of changes. Now at this point in time, nobody is a pure print media journalist. You can't say that I work for a newspaper only. A lot of people who work for a newspaper, they also double up for the news website. For example, back in the day when I was working with Times of India, we didn't have the website content to create. There was a web team who would take our stories, compress it, and put it up out there. Now, if I happen to join, a print media house to work, then I have to know the back end of how to upload my content. That's the least I need to do. Okay, so it's pretty much like a blog. Is it clear? Online medium is not only posing a challenge to the conventional media, but also forcing them to adopt changes in their newsroom operations and news delivery platforms. But understand that the competition is just too much. So if you are not adapting transformatory ways, then you might not be able to. So when you are writing, I'll give you one brief about this. When you are writing a story for a print media, for a newspaper, and you have 500 words to do that story, you might think about putting that story in 400 words because there is a picture that also moves. And that is not the case in web. There are two ways in which you can put that same story on the web. One is an abridged version. You understand abridged? Okay, a compact version, summing up what the story is about. That goes as a sort of a FIR, the first hand information that goes. People are interested to know, for example, the India-England cricket match, cricket series got over, and you want to give a brief overview about what is your opinion about the recently concluded stories and how India qualified, for the World Test Championship to play against New Zealand. Now, this is the brief that you have. Now, you can elaborate on that story and put it out there on the web, and you can have a brief and average version as well on the web. But you can't do the same thing with newspaper. The newspaper, one story goes. And a lot of stories these days, if you see, newspaper stories are also drawn from the web. So journalists are asked to follow news that comes up on the web very critically and thoroughly so that they can pick up story ideas from there. Otherwise, it won't work. All right. The impact of this can be seen in most daily newspapers as they have begun to use more box items and bulleted information. Because you have started thinking like that. You want everything to be crisp. Give us 5 points about this particular story and we are good to go. We don't want to go through a lengthy 500-word story and to understand where your lead is, where your body is, where you're concluding, so on and so forth. You don't go through that. You want to know, tell us briefly what this particular news event is all about. That's how it works. Yeah? This only makes the newspaper easy to browse. So you can go to the sports page and these are the snippets and these are the highlights of yesterday. This is what has happened in the last 24 hours. in the sporting arena. Same goes with business, same goes with uh, industrial affairs, same goes with parliamentary affairs, law and order, whatever. Clear? Renowned page designer Mario Garcia was engaged to relaunch one of the prominent newspapers in India in the recent past. In a briefing, Garcia suggested that the page should be designed in such a way that it should be easy to browse. Now you must be wondering, if there is a newspaper, how do we browse? We have only associated browse, the word browse, with the online media. But browse, the whole process or the idea of browsing existed much before online media came into scene. When you browse, what do? You go through the story, right? You take up a newspaper and you go through the story. If there are 5 stories that are there in the newspaper, you go through all of them. So that going through process is called browsing. Now, what this famous designer suggested is create the page, create a physical newspaper page, which looks a lot more interesting, engaging, interactive. So the entire visual outlook of that particular page changes as against how it was earlier. If you take up 1960s, 1970s, 1980s newspaper and compare it with what it is now, you can see huge transformation. Newspapers have become a lot more colorful, attractive, with pictorials, content which has become a lot more crispier, less use of very difficult words. Okay. The broadcast medium also tends to use the interactive and feedback features of online medium. If you listen to a song and you will find the radio jockey asks you to make a choice, make your song choice online. And TV news channels also use online poll, particularly many prime time discussions shows are incorporating feeds from live discussions on social media. That's how it happens, right? They ask you to send SMSs, they ask you to email, and then they take that whatever your emails are and try to debate and integrate it into the debate and discussion. And this is what the public thinks. So all of a sudden you stay associated with a particular news channel or newspaper or the web. This raises an important question whether the new media can be seen as a threat to conventional media or not. Okay. This is a point of debate among scholars that whether news or traditional media is going to fold up, because on the web you find everything, like I told you. You want to read print stories, you have print stories available. You want to look at images, you have separate category for images. Then you can also see video stories. So in such sort of a scenario, why do you need to? How many of you still watch television? I'm not talking about news, television. News, I'm sure few of you would be watching. Other kind of television, entertainment television. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, not Netflix, Amazon. I'm talking about traditional television. Like you have a television at home, not the smart TVs where you browse through YouTube and Netflix, Amazon Prime. No, I'm not talking about OTT. I'm talking about colors, ETV, cable transmission content. You still, yeah. So very few, I mean, so to say, in the sense. I mean, now it's divided into, but if you start surveying how many people, it could give you very interesting data that how people have shifted from the traditional format of watching television content to now look at it. And same thing you can do it on the web, right? A lot of people do prefer this thing. Right. Some believe that the online medium will replace conventional media as it has all the qualities of the traditional news media. Like I told you, everything is embedded in one platform. So why navigate through any other place? Here in online medium, you can read a text, listen to audio, watch video at your convenient time and place. So I don't have to wait for the next day's news bulletin to come or next day's newspaper to come to read. Because everything that has happened in the last 24 hours and happening right now as we speak, all those things are going to be up on the web. So by evening, my entire news feed or the wall of that news website is changed. As I was You wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you go through what has happened. And then again in the evening when you go back, there's so many changes that has happened. Unless there is a story which has got a recurring value. Okay. So in India, we are witnessing a unique scenario where on one hand, the print editions are growing in regional languages. The regional language newspapers are doing pretty well as compared to the English newspapers in the bigger cities and towns. I mean, they have established their mark. They're almost 150, 160 years old. They have a certain subscription rate. But the point is, if you see the last 10 years or 15 years, the regional newspapers have made better business, more in terms of subscription and production, as against newspapers coming from the English language. Whereas web journalism outlets are ever expanding. In the last 10 years itself, more than 100 news websites have come up. Okay, let's look at the characteristics of online journalism. First one is online. As the word suggests, it operates on an online platform which can be seen or updated in real time. Okay, that's how the update happens. On one particular story, there could be further development, which cannot come in newspapers. It will only come as a development story in the next day paper, or something that you can witness on the web as it's being updated. How many of you keep checking COVID tracker? For example, COVID tracker is an interesting data platform where you can see that getting updated every day almost. How the cases are spiking or going down. You can do your own mathematics and come up with some sort of conclusion regarding that. So here, breaking news and events can be updated as it happens with live telecast of news, TV news channels. Live updates of news websites are quite common these days. When recently the flights happened in Uttarakhand, sometime back, the people who are reporting live almost, and you can see that on the news website. I remember when Chennai flood happened. Chennai floods happened in 2015. And before that, in 2003, the tsunami that happened, we used one. It was actually the bloggers. They're not journalism students. They're not journalists. They're people who blog on regular. And this is before video blogging came into picture. What you call as blog. There was no 360 camera, phone camera. You would record and all that. People would write, go onto the web and write. They were the ones who were updating. Chennai floods, there's a lot of rescue operations that could happen because people were constantly updating social media, saying that there is relief needed in X place or Y place within Chennai and all that. And that helped. And it has a flip side also because a lot of people continued sharing. There was no, so for example, I see that, okay, in T Nagar, there is a certain requirement. I go there, that part is already taken care of. It's like that kid who gets lost and then being dragged out of, taken back to the parents. No, we have found our kid. Now she's going to school, you drag, okay, I saw you in some missing poster, now go back. So it happens like that, right? So this sort of things happen. So in online, those facilities are there. While we have the facility in radio and TV as well of updated information, but the difference that you can see is with computing devices and handheld gadgets like mobiles, that the features are there. You can pin your story. There are certain news stories you are interested in, you can pin them. You can bookmark those stories and go back. So the revisiting part becomes easier. You can always, offer your feedback regarding particular stories. Those things really help quite a bit. Then shifted time, online journalism also takes advantage of shifted time. Publications can archive stories for now and later. Like I told you, users can read these stories at any given point of the choice. In other medium, this facility is not available easily. Like conventional media, print media, you have to go to the news organization to have access to that, what we understand as a MOG. How many are familiar with the word MOG? MORGUE, MOG. You can only understand the word MOG in the context of a place which stores dead bodies, right? So MOG in journalism context is understood as an archive. So every newspaper has its own archive. right from the day of publication to till date, and you can go and then look for some stories. Here also, once the library opens and you start. So if you have, we store 6 months to 1 year newspapers. So if you want to do any kind of an archival research, like for my research work, I need to go and look at old magazines and newspapers and see what kind of stories were published back in the day regarding the subject. So which becomes a part of my research. Similarly, I mean, when you guys try to do so that you want to read a particular story, you can go back. Now that thing has changed. It has shifted the time base. Now you can go and if you want to read a newspaper or 1970s, let's say today, March 10, 1970 edition, you can do that because they have digitized that entire part, which is fascinating. So you can go back and check the stories. Multimedia, online journalism can include multimedia elements. Multimedia are text and graphics, that is newspapers and books, sound, music, animation, motion elements, 3D. One of the more greatest opportunities of multimedia journalism is the ability to combine various media elements for a news story, is what we had been discussing. That in one news story, so many things are embedded. So you have text, you have visuals, you have graphics, you have video, all those things coming together, which makes it a lot more interesting and fascinating, right? Than looking at a dry newspaper and paper and say that, okay, this is how the day is going to unfold. At present, most new media organizations provide derivatives of their parent products. Parent product is the newspaper or the traditional media. Newspapers are providing digital text, radio organizations are providing audio clips, and television channels are providing streamed video links. This is what happens, right? When you go to the web, you can find it. But multimedia is providing all these news entities an opportunity to adapt to other designs as well. So days are not far. I mean, that experiment is already happening in the US. That where AI and VR, okay, augmented reality, AR, VR, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and virtual reality will come together and give you a 360 rundown into the news sites, the event site. Let's, for example, your dad works in a bank and he has been transferred to some remote village, and it's a new bank that is coming up, and some local journalist is covering that story, inauguration of the bank. They might just be doing on a VR interface where you can, through your VR device, can actually see your dad inaugurate that. So those sort of experiments are already happening. We have already have documentaries where you can actually engage through a 360 VR, have a 360 VR experience. How many of you are familiar with VR? Like you have already seen VR videos and stuff like that. Yeah, virtually, yeah. So it's very fascinating. Yeah, you put on the device and then you keep moving. Somebody who is not familiar might find you as a mad person. That what are you doing? But otherwise, you are having a tremendous design experience. All right. So and these adaptations are necessary as and when we progress with technology. These sort of things are important. Yeah, now All India Radio and a lot of news channels are offering you content to go through their websites and look at those sort of things. The biggest advantage of online media is interactivity. It has the online journalism has become extremely interactive. Hyperlinks are primary mechanisms for interactivity on the web that you can navigate from one to another. You like a certain link, you can share it with your friends, and then that could be reshared. The whole concept of virality has worked because of that interactivity. That somebody posts something and then there are discussions that happen. So you have more options than the traditional media, and it also allows you a scope and opportunity to do more in-depth analysis because there are multiple organizations writing about that same story, so you can go through that. By hyperlinking various elements, you can work on a complex and a lengthy story. The work of the journalist, online journalists consists of hyperlinking their own web pages at times link it to other websites. So I write for a newspaper, I can do the hyperlinking on Twitter or on Facebook. Those kind of things. Interactivity also provides users options to comment and add some information to the existing content. Okay, so when discussion happens, when you go to the comment bar and start putting your comments and all, it creates a more interactive cycle. Online sites are also used to conduct online polls to bring more interactivity, where you are bringing an audience to participate and consider their point of view significant as a part of the discussion. These features of online journalism is helpful in several ways. First is it makes the user spend more time on the web page, right? All of you spend more than 2 to 3 hours. I don't know. You have weekly reminder reports which tells you that your screen activity has gone up by 3 hours, 4 hours, so on and so forth. It makes the user experience more enjoyable, definitely, as compared to traditional media. Helps gain more information because you can navigate through and find out. Then users perceive the site navigation easily. Once you're familiar with it, then you can go to the scroll down and go through the stories. Next is immediacy. Like I told you, I'll just run through, have a little less time now, that it is the most immediate medium. The very fact that it provides you information that are extremely quick, and whatever information that you're getting, you have multiple devices to do so. So I can do that while I am on my laptop. Then the news notifications that are coming on my phone, I can scroll through that. So all you need is a basic internet connection, and then you have access to online media. Next is hypertextuality. It's a prime tool used to introduce interactivity on web page. Hypertext is a web link which can be used to provide variety of information in one page. Okay, so when you hyperlink it and you click it, it redirects you to that page, right? And it can carry audio, graphics, animation, video, whatever within that story. This is extremely enriching in nature. This is extremely enriching in nature. Wait for the class to get over. What happens here is what online media does is, this is where it differs from the traditional media. Understand this is how it differs from the media. And then there is multilinearity in the story as against the traditional one. It's not unilinear because you are delving with audio, you are delving with video, you are delving with text, you are dealing with images, you are dealing with graphics, all of them coming together, and it creates a multilinear pattern in the stories. It also enables users to be participants while they click through those set of pages that redirects them to the content, whatever they are interested. Then reporting for online media. The impact of online has been so huge that even reporters of conventional media have begun to use online tools for reporting. Okay, which is what we are discussing. And they borrow now from social media and uncover the story. On social media, what is trending, what kind of things are trending. They try to borrow from there. They take into personality profiles on social media and microblogging sites, and whatever somebody is commenting on that, telling something, and then they try to create create a story out of that. Personal blogs, if somebody is trying to comment on some story and discussing something which is important or which is topical in nature, they try to draw from their experiences and try to file stories or the stories. So journalistic blogs are very important because many times what you would find is a lot of unedited stories there, which might not be accessible on the news site per se, because it might violate some sort of style guides or principles. Then traditional reporting. In the traditional reporting method, the online reporters use online tools in traditional ways like interviews, observation. They go through the documents and start aggregating opinion. So it happens the same way. You still do research. Only thing is you have to stay open to different media. So you are not just looking at text alone. So when you are going out, you have to have your device is ready to capture everything whatever is required. And then while you do so, you use your emails, your Zoom, whatever you want to. Now Zoom has come up, so you do those interviews online and then start compiling the information together. Open source reporting, traditional reporters do not share the story idea with readers while investigating fact finding in the field. Reporters do not want to lose potential scoop for the competitors. When you're doing so, if it is on the web, there are other people who might do so. So on open source reporting, exactly the opposite. They share the story idea before and ask users to share their opinion. What do you think about this particular story that I want to write about? So I include whatever you say, and it's that sort of a cross collaboration that happens, and that becomes extremely crucial in terms of engagement. It creates an online community, so to say, of both users and journalists. Okay, so I'll stop here. That's more or less what I wanted to discuss about online journalism.